Hello, everyone. My name is Amber Mostyn and of the Mostyn Law Firm. And tonight we are going to be talking about Superstorm, Texas Storm, Uri, the winter storm. Has a lot of nicknames. And we're going to be talking about pipe burst claims and what you should be doing in your insurance claims right now. And so the title, what we've decided to title this webinar is When Do I Get Paid? So a lot of folks right now are in the process of making their claims with their insurance company. They may have already had an adjuster come out. They may have received a check and maybe an estimate from their adjuster, or they're waiting on either getting an estimate or a check. So a lot of folks are wanting to know, when do I get paid? When can I start the work on my house? When can we move back in? When can things get back to normal? This storm, we still don't have the complete picture on how much damage it costs. I mean, estimates right now are ranging anywhere from $10 billion to $200 billion. So it's really hard to get a handle on how many insurance claims will be filed in Texas and what the insurance companies should pay their insureds, you. The Texas Department of Insurance has asked for information from all of the insurance carriers by the end of March, letting them know how many claims have been filed, how many claims have been closed, and just where the status is so far. So hopefully we'll be able to get some more information about that at the end of this month. The most important thing we've said before in our webinars and information that we post on our website and on social media is that you get good information right now about how to file a good insurance claim. Hopefully your insurance company pays you and you get to get the work done in your house, get your home repaired, get your house back to normal, get your family back to normal, or as normal as we've been during the pandemic, but at least get your home settled, right? Because especially during the pandemic, that's our refuge. That was the one place that we felt safe. And so now we need to get that back in order. So how do you do that? You file a good insurance claim with a lot of really good documentation, and you make sure that the insurance company has all the information that they need to get you paid under your contract with the insurance company. I think that's one thing a lot of people are surprised and don't really think about when they get insurance. They're surprised to find out when they need it that your insurance policy is actually a contract between you and your insurance company. And that contract determines what your insurance company has to pay you for if there's damage to your home. And so the contract, the policy governs everything. And when you have a dispute with your insurance company and you can't get it resolved, that's when you come see us. That's when expertise really matters. The attorneys at Mostyn Law have, been doing first-party insurance, which means suing insurance companies for 15, 20 years now. And our collective experience will help you get your insurance company to pay you the money that you deserve to get your claim resolved. With us today, we have two attorneys from Mostyn Law. The first is Greg Cox, and I'd like to ask Greg to introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Greg Cox. I'm an attorney with the Mostyn. Hi, I'm an attorney with the Mostyn firm. I've been with the firm for about 14 years, and during that time, I've helped thousands of individual homeowners and small businesses with their insurance claims.
Great, thanks, Greg. And we're going to come back to Greg in just a little while. But now I'd like for Caroline Maida to introduce herself.
Hey, Amber.
Hey, Caroline.
Hey, viewers. I'm Caroline Maida, and I've been an attorney with the Mostyn Law Firm for over a decade now, and I've practiced first-party insurance and mass tort for that time. But this winter storm, was a different one for me because I had my own pipe burst and have had to make my own claim. So this is the first time since practicing first-party insurance with the Mostyn Law Firm, or practicing as a lawyer at all, that I've been in the same position as our clients going through the process with you. And so I really understand what people are going through, and I have a lot of neighbors in the same boat.
So Caroline, there was that old commercial that was like, I'm not only the owner, but I'm also a client. So
yes, that's me.
Yeah, you're not only helping people, you also have your own claim.
Yes.
So, we've been getting hundreds of questions, calls, people wanting to hire us, needing help, advice on their policies. And we've already encountered people who've been completely denied. So those folks do need a lawyer if they feel like they've been wrongfully denied. And at a minimum, we can review their policy for them and let them know if the basis that the insurance company is giving them for just flat out denying them is valid at all. And I think you and I have talked about it. We know some folks who called in to make their claim and the insurance company told them, like, just don't even bother. It's below your deductible.
It's below your deductible. Mm-hmm. I've heard that from a lot of friends and neighbors.
Yeah. So those folks need to call us and we can help them determine whether that's true or not. But the other big chunk of people that we talk to are folks who have already started their insurance claims process. They filed their claim. They've talked to the insurance company. They probably have a claim number, and an adjuster may or may not have come out. And now what they want to know, their burning question, Caroline, that hopefully you can help answer for everybody, is when do I get paid? Right? That's what all of this is about. So
absolutely.
Can you let our viewers know, like, what are the guidelines? Aren't there rules that determine when an insurance company has to pay you?
Absolutely. So the Texas Insurance Code has deadlines in place that insurance companies have to meet when they handle your claims. There are certain instances where those deadlines can be extended. And for this storm, those deadlines have been extended. First, they were extended because of COVID and the pandemic. And then once the magnitude of the storm was realized, the extended deadlines were continued by the Texas Department of Insurance. So they do have extended time, which I know is not what I wanted to hear as a claimant.
Right.
And I know not what a lot of our clients want to hear, but it's so that the insurance companies can keep up. And as we've seen, the supply and demand is way out of whack right now. It's hard to get your insurance company to respond. It's also hard to get contractors and anybody else, plumbers, to come out.
Caroline, do you have an out-of-town adjuster?
So I do. I had an out-of-town adjuster. All my phone calls are coming from Florida. So from my adjuster, from my insurance company, all of them have a Florida area codes. So when I see an area code, I make sure to answer it and make sure I have a pen and pencil to take notes.
Right. Because I think that's some advice you gave everyone in our previous webinar. Just make sure you take notes of everything. Mm-hmm. So when should folks, what kind of extensions are we talking about? What should they be expecting? Yeah.
So the most general answer I can give you to that is about 30 days. The insurance company will have 30 days from the receipt of your claim to acknowledge your claim, which means send you a letter. I got a letter in the mail that just said, "Hey, Caroline, we got your claim. We'll be sending an adjuster as soon as possible." In that same amount of time, the 30 days, they have to start their investigation, which usually means sending out an adjuster, and also a request from the insured any items, statements, forms that they reasonably believe that they are going to need. This may be estimates from your contractor, a receipt from your plumber, any receipts that you spent to mitigate the damage, which means, stop the damage, anything like that. So generally 30 days.
So does that mean that, and then can they ask for those things later, or do they have to ask for all of that up front? How does that work? Like, I know we've been advising folks to get everything together and do just a big dump on the adjuster and the insurance company, right? And we've been telling folks, give it to your adjuster, but also make sure to give it to your insurance company and vice versa. Like, make sure everyone has everything. But what do they do if the adjuster is asking them for more information?
So I think that this comes down to the reasonableness of the request. They have 30 days to ask you for whatever they believe is necessary. And that may change depending on what you provide them, right? So if you provide them an estimate from a contractor, they may need to request additional information from that contractor on why it's costing more than they show it should be costing, or something like that. But generally that 30 days, and in my experience with my claim, it's been things that are easily obtainable within the 30-day timeline. So I don't want our clients or any viewers tonight to be, nervous about, 30 days isn't a short amount of time. The insurance company can request more time. The insured can request more time to get those things to the insurance company. So,
well, and if it's something you think is strange or just doesn't seem right, you can always give us a call and we'll let you know if that
For sure.
seems like something. So I think someone mentioned that they really were asking this person, when was your house bill? When was your house bill? When was your house bill? And so, and they were anxious about that question. Like, what are they trying to do
Yeah,
here?
right.
So just give us a quick call and we can let you know. So once they have all those things, then like, are there deadlines on how long they have to answer you? Once you've given them everything they've asked
Yes.
for, when do they have to give you an answer?
So once you've given them all they've asked for to make a final decision on your claim, they have 30 days to notify you in writing whether they're going to accept your claim or reject your claim. And if it's rejected, they have to give you the reason that it's rejected. So make sure that if the insurance company has flat out denied you, that you have in writing the reason that they're denying your claim. If they're accepting it, what they'll usually do, and what they did in my case, was they sent me an estimate that showed what they believe the damage will cost to fix. And then once they give you that decision in writing, then they have 20 days to actually issue you the check. And I know that's what people want to know right now. When am I getting my money? And so that is 20 days from when they inform you of their final decision.
Right. So they're the big question, when do I get my check? So if the best case scenario, everything's great, 30 days from when you file your claim, and then 30 days from when you get them everything they need, and then 20 days after that. So
That's
we're
right.
talking about a couple months at the minimum here, right?
Yeah. And some insurance companies may go faster, but they have the right to take at least that long. And that's if they don't ask for any more extensions. So, I know it's a long process, and it's so frustrating, especially I know so many people. I've been lucky and we're living in our house, but there's so many that are out of their houses and in hotel rooms with small kids. And so I know it is so frustrating for our clients and for our friends and for our neighbors. So I just want them to be prepared for the timeline.
Right. And I think we were chatting earlier today about, folks who went on spring break with little kids and remembered that a friend of both of ours was saying they went on spring break with their little kids and they remembered, why do I stay in the same room with them? This is miserable. I can't get any sleep. So it made us really have some empathy for our clients, thinking about the fact that they're out of their homes and they're having to live in one hotel, 2 hotel rooms, whatever the insurance company would approve for them. Can you remind folks, we talked about this in the first webinar, but can you remind them, I think Greg was giving some good advice about like what to do if you can't live in your home and you just can't do that anymore, or you just can't live in one room with 3 young boys anymore. Like how should you approach your insurance company about that?
Yeah, so I think the best thing to do in that scenario is to call your insurance company, let them know. If you're out of your house, they, especially still at this point, they have likely approved you for some ALE, which is the additional living expenses, to be out of your home. And Greg, in our last webinar, gave some great advice about asking for an advance for that money, because I know out of pocket, hotels are expensive per night, especially if you have to get a second room, if you have, a lot of people in your family. So I would contact your adjuster, contact your desk. So I have a claims adjuster and a desk adjuster. So I would contact my desk adjuster, the one that works for the insurance company, not the one that's driven from Florida. And I would ask for an additional advance if that's what you need to keep staying where you are, or let them know, hey, this hotel room isn't working. And I found a 30-day apartment lease that I can do for X amount of money. Can I get approved for that? And just, what we always say, the squeaky wheel is the one that gets the oil. So be that person. Call.
I think Caroline froze up there for a second, but I know she was saying to be the squeaky wheel and to make sure you call your insurance company. And there you are, you're back. I knew what you were saying,
Sorry.
though. It's
Yes.
okay. I think a lot of people are
meant,
experiencing that these days.
Yes. My last thing was just, if you don't ask, you're not going to get it anyway. So make sure that you're calling your insurance company and asking for those things that you need.
Right. And Caroline, there may be plenty of folks. I know you were saying like this far out from the storm, you know, if you can't live in your house, you're probably already living somewhere else. You've probably already gotten your additional living expenses. But, you know, I remember my experience from Hurricane Ike. Our home was damaged, but our kitchen wasn't, and I just insisted on staying at the house. I was not going to move. And so 2 weeks into it, I just realized how ridiculous that was, and there was no way we could continue to live there because the kitchen wasn't messed up, but we were crawling over, you know, taped up cabinets, and there was dust everywhere from the sheetrock, cutting out the sheetrock, and it was a construction zone. It was silly of me to think we could live there. So 2 weeks after Hurricane Ike, we actually ended up going to a hotel, and you know, at first we're just in one room with 4 people. So, so we have a little bit of empathy for that. So,
Absolutely.
okay, well, thank you, Caroline. And thanks for sharing your claim experience with us. And we'll probably ask you to pop back on a couple of times because we're going to talk to Greg right now about what do you do if, you know, the big question right now is, when do I get paid? That's what everybody wants to know. Some folks have gotten their check already. So what do they do? What do you do if you get a check and it's not for enough money? Or what do you do if the insurance company comes out, they look at your property and they just say, we're not covering this. Like this is not covered. What do you do? What do I do if I disagree with the insurance company?
Sure. We're at the point now where a lot of people are going to be getting claims decisions, and they may actually be receiving checks for the amount that the insurance adjuster has determined and that his supervisor has approved. That isn't necessarily the correct amount that it's going to take to fix your claim. A lot of people, you know, we're not experts. We're not construction contractors, most of us. So we may not have the exact expertise to know what it's going to take to fix our homes. But you know, I think people generally have an idea of what things cost based on prior experience, and you kind of have a sense of whether or not the check that they're going to give you is going to be enough. So what I would say to do at this point, when you've actually got the claims decision, you need to do 2 things. You need to first educate yourself. And that has to do with, you know, figuring out what the insurance company is paying and why they're paying that amount. And the second thing I would say is be persistent. That's what Caroline touched on, the idea that the squeaky wheel is the one that's going to get the attention. The same thing holds true in insurance claims. I think being persistent, you know, sending in all your documentation on time. If the insurance company asks for something, get it to them as fast as you can, but stay on them. You know, you don't want to bother the adjuster where he or she can't do their job, but you want them to know that, you know, your claim is important to you and you want it to be important to them. So those are 2 concepts that I would say that, you know, you need to focus on: educating yourself and being persistent.
So I have a question, and this may be getting a little too into the weeds, but it may just kind of help some folks understand how the insurance company adjusters come up with their numbers and how they work. So can you talk a little bit about Xactimate and some of the other pricing software?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You know, what most people are getting right now is they're asking the adjuster, well, how much am I going to get? And so they give you a number, and it may actually be an actual check for that amount, or it just may be a letter that says, we've handled your claim and it's going to be $10,000, for instance. But what you have to do is you have to get into the weeds and figure out how they came up with that $10,000. And one of this is what I was saying about educating yourself. You need to spend time looking at the estimate that the insurance adjuster used to base his decision on. And it looks like a chart. It's actually a bunch of small print numbers usually, and it has descriptions of all your damages. We call that the scope of your damages, and that's what you really have to look at to understand how they arrived at your claim payment. So you kind of have to spend some time looking at that. And the software program that does that is called Xactimate. It's just a software tool that adjusters use to sort of standardize the decision process. But spend some time looking at that estimate, and it will go room by room. For instance, if you had damage in your kitchen and in your living room and one bedroom, it's going to have a breakdown for each one of those rooms. And it's going to tell you how large the room is, square footage, etc. It's going to tell you how the adjuster determined what part of that room was damaged and how much they have calculated to repair the damage they found. And it will have a line-by-line itemization. So it's important to understand the details of that so that you can dispute their decision if you don't agree with it. There may be. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we talked to some folks, like it's kind of a little bit all over the map about what insurance companies are saying, like it's damaged or it's included. I know that a good friend of mine, her cabinets in her kitchen, there was water down behind the cabinets and the wood was warped and the paint's peeling off. And her insurance adjuster said, okay, these cabinets are so damaged, we can't repair them and we're pulling those out. And so they paid to pull those out and they paid to replace them. But we've had talked to clients who they just say, oh no, that's not damaged enough. That's going to dry out. Oh, we also heard people complaining that adjusters had told them that hardwood floors that had been, or even linoleum in one instance, that had just been covered with water for no telling how long, because the folks weren't at home because they didn't have power, right? So they went to a family member or a friend's house that had power, and they come home to like a small little pond in their house of water. Sure. That's not covered, that they'll need to dry it out. So what should they do if they get a response like that from the insurance company?
Obviously, the best tool I think there would be to have some advice from a construction professional, a flooring contractor, if you can get one to come out there timely and give you an opinion about, the fact that the damages that the insurance didn't pay for really were damaged by the storm, and come up with a scope of how to repair those damages in the correct manner. It may require tearing out all of your hardwood flooring and drying out the subfloors. But you kind of need to rely on expertise, get something in writing from the contractor, get them to do an Xactimate style, line item by line item opinion about what they think.
Because some of these contractors actually use the same software that the insurance company uses, right?
It's very common that they will, because they often get paid by the insurance companies either directly or indirectly. So they speak the language of the insurance companies, and they can provide you with a good estimate of the same format about what they think it's going to take to make the repairs. So, be persistent. Provide that documentation to your insurance adjuster. It's like getting a second opinion from any professional, a doctor or anyone else. Go get a second opinion if what you're hearing from the insurance adjuster just doesn't sound right.
Right. And then, one more thing I want to bring up, and we didn't talk about this, but two more things I'd like to talk to you about before you leave. Sure. I want to first reemphasize what you said, documentation, right? All of this, everything we've said, everything we always say in these webinars, document all of these communications with your insurance company, take notes, send emails, and just make sure you're documenting all these conversations you're having. Even if you're in the car and they call you, turn on your Siri or whatever else and just do a note. Siri, make a note, right? Like just make a note of the conversation that you had while it's still fresh in your mind. But Greg, I want to bring on you and Caroline together for a second, because Caroline was talking to us about pre-approval. And she'd heard from some clients about an issue of pre-approval. Caroline, will you tell Greg and see what he has to say about that?
Yeah, so talking to clients on the phone and talking to my friends and neighbors, I've heard of several instances where on the front of the estimate that they're getting, it says, if you disagree with this estimate, you need to contact us immediately. And if you have
That's good advice. That's good advice.
Right. And if your contractor says it's going to cost more, you must have pre-approval from us before the contractor does the work. So, Greg, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm sure they'd like to have that. I mean, you do have to cooperate with the adjuster and give him or her access to all the information. If as your contractor is tearing into your walls, if they run into an unforeseen issue, then they probably do need to stop at that point, let the adjuster know that, hey, we've run across something that you didn't have a chance to look at. But if it's just a matter of disputing how much they're paying for, their scope of repairs, that, in other words, the adjuster says, here's how you should repair it, and your contractor says it's a different method of repair or it's going to be more extensive.
So just to give a concrete example in that situation, Greg, would that be a situation where the adjuster saying you can just dry out your floors, we don't have to replace them, and your contractor saying, no, I've been in here, I've touched these, they're soaked through, and we're going to have to replace this flooring. And so your adjuster's only giving you a certain amount to repair or remediate the flooring, but then the contractor said it's going to take that so much more.
Well, yeah, that's, if it's a whole new area, like if your contractor pulls up the floor and they find that there's water under the flooring, you might want to stop at that point, take photographs, call the adjuster back out there and say, look, we pulled up this flooring, it's all ruined underneath, it's got to go. You probably should, allow the adjuster to do the documentation and come out and rescope the loss. But if it's something, as far as just, an amount of dispute about valuation, that, in other words, just the dollars and cents of what it's going to cost, then I don't think your insurance contract requires you to get pre-approval for every little thing. They've had the opportunity to look at it. They should have done their job right the first time.
Right. So the final thing I'm going to ask you before you go is, Greg, is about depreciation. So I think Caroline got her estimate today, right?
I did.
And
it was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. Your depreciation amount, which is an amount they can take out of what they think they owe you, just happened to make your final amount the exact equal to your deductible.
Yep, it zeroed me out. So whatever they thought my claim was worth, they took enough depreciation to zero me out and say, we're not going to pay you anything on this.
Okay,
coincidence, I'm sure.
Yeah. So Greg, can you just give our viewers, listeners, a little just brief explanation of what depreciation is, and what is this line item that Caroline found on her estimate today that zeroed her out?
Yeah, most policies have what's called replacement cost coverage, which means that you will get what it costs to repair or replace the damaged item eventually if you make the repairs. Now, the insurance company won't pay that amount up front. They're going to withhold an amount for the depreciation of the item based on its age and its condition. So carpet is a very good example of this, because we know that, brand new carpet is fantastic, but it doesn't last. People walk on it, spill things on it, it's going to deteriorate. So if your carpet is, usually if it would last 10 years and the carpet is 5 years old when the water pipe bursts and floods the carpet, you don't get the cost of brand new carpet up front. The adjuster would figure out how much the brand new carpet would cost to replace it, but then the adjuster is going to take a 50% depreciation on that because it's 5 years old. Now, when you do replace the carpet, you can submit your proof of repair either in the form of an invoice or photographs of the new carpet. You submit that to the adjuster, and then they should release back to you that depreciation for the full amount. So it's sort of a holdback. Some people use that as a slang term. When they talk about insurance claims, they call that the holdback money. And you don't get that up front. You only get that after you have made the repairs and you've documented those repairs to the insurance company. So again, be persistent. That holds true of depreciation and anything else having to do with the claim payment. If you don't understand what amount you're being paid or why you're being paid, ask questions. You're entitled to an explanation about how they came up with what you're being paid.
Right. And I think that's an excellent way of phrasing it. You're entitled to this information. I mean, so often our clients at least feel like they're in an adversarial relationship with the insurance company, and that they're having to fight them, and they get tired or they just don't know what to do. And I think it's important to remind everybody, like I talked about at the outset, this is your contract with the insurance company. You're not asking for anything that you're not entitled to. This is what you all agreed to at the beginning. You've been paying your premiums every month. They've been taking them. And now it's time for them to pay under that contract what is covered and what's owed. Greg, I think what I heard most from you is just educating yourself, like making sure you have everything in writing, making sure you have estimates, making sure you understand like the scope of what it's going to take to repair your home, and more importantly, what you're entitled to under the policy.
You need to have that information to be able to advocate for yourself. You need to stand up for yourself. You need to be proactive and persistent. If the adjuster didn't put something in the estimate that you showed them was damaged, like if you pointed at your carpet and you said, my carpet's messed up, it needs to be replaced, and then you look at the Xactimate estimate and they didn't put carpet in there, you need to understand that it's not in there, and you need to advocate for yourself and call the adjuster and insist that they replace the carpet, not just let it dry out with a fan. The education is where you need to start, but then take it from there and be persistent with your position and, advocate for yourself with the adjuster.
Great. And let me ask you a quick question before you leave also. What if you forgot something? Like, what if you didn't point out the carpet, but now you're like, this is starting to smell. This is Houston. The adjuster said this was going to dry out, which is kind of crazy to me, but especially if you have carpet. But the adjuster said this was going to dry out. This is Houston. This has not dried out. It's, rained 5 times since then. Rained twice last night. It's humid. What do you do then? But you never brought it up before, so you feel weird about bringing it up, for the first time.
Yeah, it's not a case of gotcha. Don't be afraid to speak up. If you find something else as you go through the repair process, or your contractor may point out something as they're tearing into the project, they may come across something. You can always supplement your claim, and you're entitled to supplement the claim. Just call the adjuster back. You might need some documentation, a photograph of something else you've come across that was damaged, or maybe the contractor gives you an estimate that includes some items that aren't in the original estimate. This is, where you need to be proactive. It's not a sense of gotcha. You're always entitled to reopen your claim, supplement your claim, and think of it more as a process. It's not sort of a one and done approach. Some people, we get this question a lot, is some people, when they get their first check, they know it's not enough.
Right.
Just by their own experience and common sense, even before they've hired the contractor, they get a check for, $1,000, and they know there's no way this is going to be enough. But they're afraid to cash that $1,000 check because they have this sense of, well, if I cash it, then I've surrendered. I've agreed with the insurance company and I can't ever go back. That's not true. In Texas, you can cash the check. That's just the initial payment. There's no prohibition of you taking that money and doing what you can with it, and then later supplementing the claim with more information.
Greg, that is excellent advice, because there are many people who feel like once you cash the check, you accepted that money and that's all you're going to get paid. So I really think folks need to hear that. Can you repeat that for everybody?
Sure. Yeah. You're entitled to supplement your claim and with additional information, and your initial claim payment, if you cash that, doesn't mean that you've agreed with the insurance company. It doesn't mean you can't come back later. You're entitled to the money that they've determined, and you're entitled to ask for additional money later if you find more damage or even just more expensive damage than what they've estimated the claim. So it's not a doctor.
I had some folks telling me that, saying they'd read that the price of lumber had gone up and the price of plumbing supplies had gone up. And, is that price gouging? And sort of looking at it from the side of the Attorney General, and even our own Harris County attorney has been very proactive. Christian Menefee has been very proactive at looking at price gouging. But there are commodities on the market like lumber, and the price of that does rise. And so can you explain how that works into Xactimate?
Yeah, exactly. The program we talked about, the standardized program, is called Xactimate, and that's what the insurance companies base their pricing on. And so what they do is, once they put in the amount of material that they're going to replace in a damaged area of your home, the computer has a price list that it draws from. Once the adjuster says, you might need 10 square feet of sheetrock, for instance, that computer then goes to a database that is programmed into that Xactimate program. And it has the cost for, 10 square feet of sheetrock. The problem is that price list that it's using isn't today's prices. It's based on.
So it might be old. It might be old.
You don't know how often the adjuster is updating their software. They should be doing it monthly at least. But, we've had experiences with some adjusters who don't do that because it costs money to update the software.
Well, and some of these folks they don't work directly for the insurance company, right? Some of these adjusters are kind of what most people would understand as like freelance adjusters, right? And they come in to help adjust. And if they haven't updated, they, come in to help adjust a big storm. And if they haven't updated their price list, it could be shorting you.
Absolutely. And, it's just common sense. We know that after a storm, there's a huge demand for all the materials,
right.
The sheetrock, the carpet, the plumbers, the skilled trades,
right.
They are going to demand a premium. It's just supply and demand. And that's part of what happens after every large disaster like this. So,
right. So I told y'all I had a small exterior leak, and it's not important to my being able to live in my house or anything like that. But my plumber keeps pushing me off and I'm fine with that. But they keep pushing me off and saying, we're still booked solid, trying to get people back in their homes, get the repair work done so the rest of the work can be done so the folks can get back in their homes. So the demand does make a difference in the pricing, and the insurance company needs to adjust for that, right?
Absolutely. You're entitled to be paid what it costs to fix your home today, not yesterday's prices, not last year's prices, not prices from some other area of the country where your adjuster might be from. He can't bring a Florida price list here to Texas and apply it to local costs because those are different. It's based on supply and demand in the local market. And that's what you're entitled to be paid, what it actually will cost you to get someone to actually make the repairs to your home.
Right. Well, that's all great advice, Greg. I really appreciate it, Caroline. I appreciate your time and sharing your insurance claim experience with us. I'm going to have to go find that old clip of the commercial that says like, I'm not just the owner, I'm a client too. So I'm going to find that. That's going to be your new tagline.
Yes, I'll take it.
Okay, great. Thank both of you. So I think Greg and Caroline made it, re-emphasized a lot of points from our first webinar, that you have to document everything: photos, videos, telephone calls, notes, anything you can do to document the conversation you're having with your insurance company and also with your adjuster. Make sure everybody has all of that same information, and that you're updating. I think Caroline mentioned your desk adjuster as well as your field adjuster. Make sure everybody's on board. What Greg gave us some great advice about asking for what you're entitled to. And Caroline mentioned communicating with the insurance company and letting them know if you need additional living expenses. Greg was talking about if you find additional damage, just make sure you're communicating with the insurance company and documenting it. Educate yourself about what it's going to take to properly fix your home. That was a real focus of the first webinar, is there were a lot of people who thought they could just stick up a patch of sheetrock and repaint it and everything would be okay, not realizing that water that was leaking from the pipe in the ceiling of their first floor was seeping down their walls and caused a lot of moisture and water damage behind their walls that they couldn't see. So make sure that you're properly scoping the damage and that you know what it's going to cost to actually fix your home, get you back in it, get everything the way it was before the Texas winter storm, Uri. And just remember, after going through all of this process, I know it's a lot of work and you just have to have patience and take some time. But after going through all of this process, if you just don't feel like you're being treated fairly and properly by your insurance company, they owe you a duty. Okay? They owe you a duty, and you've paid for that privilege in your contract of insurance. You paid your premiums, and now it's time for them to pay you according to the terms of your policy. If you don't understand what that means, or if the insurance company, it just doesn't seem right what they're talking about it, call us at Mostyn Law, and we will review your policy for free and let you know whether we see something in there that makes us think, I don't think the insurance company is telling you the truth here, or I think you should go and point this portion of your policy out to them and tell them that this should be covered under the policy. And we do that for free. That's not part of representing you. It doesn't mean you have a case with us. It's just part of our process of getting you to file a good claim. Listen, you don't have a case if you didn't file a good claim, and we can't help you with that. So we want you to file a good claim. Call us and we'll give you whatever advice that we can based on your policy about what we think it's supposed to cover and what we think the insurance company should pay you. And then again, if you've just been flat out denied already by your insurance company, they just said, look, your policy does not cover this damage, we're not paying you. Or like some folks we know who called and said, hey, I'd like to make a claim. And the person on the other end of the phone said, don't bother. Your claim is going to be under your deductible. I can tell you right now over the phone. There's no way they can know that. So call us at Mostyn Law. We'll review the policy for you, and we'll let you know what you can do next to get you paid what you are owed under your insurance policy. And if you still have any questions, even after you've gotten a check, call us again and we can help you in that regard. So we're at mostynlaw.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think I've made a joke before, like we're just not on TikTok yet, but my 14-year-old daughter is trying to fix that for us. So hopefully we'll be on TikTok soon. But if you still have any questions after the insurance company has sent you an estimate, sent you a check, and you still feel like you've been underpaid, not paid enough, or denied, give us a call at Mostyn Law. We'll review your policy for free and let you know what you deserve under your contract. And you heard from Caroline and Greg, and we've got a lot of many, maybe too many years of experience in this business now at this point for me. And we can help you and evaluate that. And expertise really matters in this field because insurance law is a detailed set of laws. And the case law is a very detailed set of laws. So expertise really matters in this situation. So thank you all for joining in, and I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, again, you can find us on our website, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Y'all have a great evening.